We're back for part 2 of our two-parter, this time checking out some US labels from the Kirkland Signature brand. Welcome to The Wine Fool. As always, I'm Scott. I rate wines based on the drinker, not on some 100-point scale made to sell wine. If you find this video helpful, I hope you'll give it a like, share it with a friend, or even subscribe. It really helps me out. In last week's episode, we checked out 2 Italians and a French from the Kirkland Signature label. This week, we're on the other side of the Atlantic, checking out some US labels. This week, we have a red blend from Napa Valley and a Cabernet Sauvignon and a red blend from Washington State. First up, we're looking at the 2022 Kirkland Signature Cabernet Sauvignon from the Columbia Valley in Washington. This comes in at 14.5% alcohol by volume and was $8.99. That's about $118 before tax on a case, for those of you keeping track at home. Cabernet Sauvignon was my starter red, which, knowing what I know now, probably wasn't the best choice, but what did I know? It's also the world's most popular wine. Born from the red grape Cabernet Franc and the white grape Sauvignon Blanc, Cab Sav offers rich flavors, solid tannins, and it pairs really well with grilled meats and really any dish with a strong flavor. Per the label, this wine has notes of blackcurrant, spice, and vanilla. And after 16 months of barrel aging, the wine exudes intensity, depth, and elegance. Right, we'll see about that. We'll see how elegant $9 can be. It's got good color. It's got that rich purple that we're looking for in a Cab Sav. Lots of fruit on the nose. Don't forget to let your reds breathe a little bit before you drink them. Almost any red is going to taste that much better if it sits for half hour to an hour minimum. Some reds really need a good 90 minutes before they've really opened up after all that time kept in the bottle. Getting that vanilla, that spice, that vanilla is going to come from oak aging and a little bit of red fruit. Cheers. Good tannins. A little good acidity, really. 2022, so it's young, only 2 years. You can kind of tell it's a little bright. It's tasty. No complaints, really. It needs to mellow out a little bit. And I don't know if, that means a few more years on the shelf, stored away properly. The acidity is very high. Part of me is expecting California, and that's not what I'm going to get. If this was a California cab, I'm going to get big, bold fruit, sort of rounded, more rounded flavors, lower acidity, higher body. That's kind of what I like. That's what I'm familiar with California. This is not that. There's some interesting notes to this, but if you're looking for that rich, bold California cab, this isn't the wine for you. I put this at a Wine Fool level 1. If you are interested in reds, there's better lower end red cabs. There's so many out of California that are good, solid wines at a good price point. I don't know that you need to kind of go to this level. $9 is cheap. I'm not a huge fan of this wine. Let's put it that way. My expectations weren't particularly high. I think if you buy this expecting to get something similar to a California Cabernet Sauvignon, you're going to be disappointed. Let's put it that way. Drinkable, but it's not a high recommendation. How about that? Sticking with Washington State, we have the 2022 Kirkland Signature Series Red Blend from the Columbia Valley in Washington. This is 14.8% alcohol by volume and was $16.99. This is a blend of Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and Syrah. but the label doesn't mention percentages. So per the label, the Cabernet Sauvignon dominant composition, one would assume that means 50% or more of its Cabernet Sauvignon, or at least a majority, provides impressive structure and depth with pleasant notes of blackberry, tobacco, and sage. Merlot contributes a soft mid-palate and dark fruits, while Syrah adds color, minerality, and spice to the final blend. A dusty layer of refined tannins lingers to extend the wine's long and harmonious finish. So a lot going on here. Let's give it a try. Dusty tannins. Good color. You can see the difference between this and the 100% or 85% cab, bottle. You're getting cab typically is very purple notes. This we're seeing more of that Merlot and Syrah coming through. So you've got purple, but then you've got sort of hints of that burgundy and red coming through. Nice subtle notes on the nose, nothing overpowering. Sweet cherries, plum, a hint of vanilla. Cheers. Dry. Good tannins. I don't know what they mean by dusty tannins. I'd say they're pretty firm tannins, to be honest. And maybe that's showing that this needs to open up a little bit more. I didn't quite get these out for as much time as I normally do. Usually I'm trying to, give these at least a half hour out of the bottle. Tonight it just didn't work out that way. So it's been maybe 20 minutes. So yeah, be curious to see how this opens up a little bit more, because the tannins are pretty firm out of the, 20 minutes out of the bottle, they're still pretty firm. That's nice. A little bit more fuller bodied than the cab. I think that was the other thing. Obviously, again, I'm trying to compare apples to oranges. It didn't line up with my California cab ideals, but this one's got a little bit more body, lasts on the tongue a little bit. Good tannins. Tannins are really mouth coating. It's kind of lacking in the flavor department, though, gonna be honest. Like, nice notes on the nose, but you wouldn't want to drink this with anything particularly... Like, usually you drink a red with something very flavorful. In this instance, I feel like this might get overwhelmed by something too flavorful. You might just not, there's not enough. You've got the tannins, the acidity's kind of lacking. It's tasty. At $16.99, it's, I think, the most expensive out of the three we're trying tonight. Wineful level 1, again, you want to have some experience, obviously, getting into reds. Is this a first red? No, I think I always recommend like a Pinot Noir. If you've never tried red before, go with a Pinot Noir. Just, again, the tannins are fairly strong. There's just a lot of barriers to entry on this one. Wineful level 1, at that price point, I think there's better wines out there. Is it tasty? Yeah. Is this drinkable? Sure. Is the first one drinkable? Yeah, it's drinkable. Are there other wines out there that are better at this price point? $9 is hard. $16.99, I can go in and find probably a dozen bottles that I prefer to drink over this one. So we've gotten through our Washington state wines, and it's time to move on to the California blend. This is a California red blend from Napa Valley. It's 14.5% alcohol by volume and was $10.99. This is a very complicated blend. 58% Cabernet Sauvignon, 25% Merlot, 9% Malbec, 5% Cabernet Franc, and 3% Petit Verdot. But that does add up to 100%. Per the label, the 2022 red blend is a traditional blend of classical varietals which combine to create a finely nuanced wine from the well-drained gravelly loams and silt soils of Napa Valley. This blend has the concentrated notes of black cherry and cassis, supported by silky tannins and the spice rack notes of oak and cedar, finishing with the velvety notes of rich plum. That's a big promise. That's a lot. So the Cab's going to give us the bold base with firm tannins, while the Merlot kind of ups the fruit and perhaps mellows out the Cab's strong tannic structure. Meanwhile, the Malbec adds a note of pepper, and the Cab Franc, there's so little in there. It really is, you know, color, filler, a little bit of acidity, and the Petit Verdot can also add fruit and floral notes with some additional tannins in there. That's got some interesting notes on it. Definitely getting some floral notes in the background. Definitely leaning more into those burgundy notes visually. Cherry and cassis. Definitely getting the cherry. Again, the cassis I'm not as familiar with. Let's give it a try. Cheers. Kind of right off the bat, we've moved from Washington State, cooler climate, down to California, warmer climate. We're going to get riper fruit, longer growing season. So, which leads to kind of what I was talking about before, those more rounded notes. And this is, I would call this this is an entry-level red. Good flavors, mild tannins, silky tannins. I'll give them silky tannins. They're there, not particularly overwhelming. You sometimes get that in other wines. These two were particularly more tannic, where it's really drying out your mouth. This one, gentle, you know, easy. This is an easy drinker. It's nice. It's not going to knock anybody's socks off. This is wine full level 1. I would say this is an entry level red. I would be, you know, this is in that same category as I would put this in the same category as a Pinot Noir, just in the, you know, characteristics, the approachable characteristics. Something that, you know, again, if it's that starter person, you know, those starter people, somebody who has never had red before, I would give them a glass of this and tell them to try it. Who's not going to like this? If you like bold, tannic reds, you're not going to like this. This is almost juice-like because of sort of the lacking some of those bolder structural notes. So, yeah, if you're into big, bold reds, this is not the wine for you. So there we have another 3 reds from the Kirkland label. This time we dabbled on the US side of things. Not as impressed with these as I am with the European counterparts that we did last week. If you haven't watched that episode, highly recommend it. I might be biased, but those were some really good value wines, ways to get into a particular varietal or area. We had a $19 Barolo. Again, I hate to be a broken record, but good luck finding a $19 Barolo. These, I wouldn't go out of my way for these. I think if you're there and you're curious or, I think there's better options out there. This red blend from Napa Valley, again, an introductory red for somebody who's never had red wine before. It's very juice-like. So not quite as impressed with these US varietals labels from Kirkland Signature. Down in the comments, if you've tried any of these, if you tried any of last week's, let me know. Always love to hear, if you've tried something that I've tried on the show. Love to have that conversation. But yeah, these were definitely a little bit more just disappointing. Every time I try something, whether it's Trader Joe's or Kirkland or something else, I'm always hoping for greatness. Do I always know what greatness is? No. But always hoping for a really tasty wine. Are these tasty? They're okay. They're not. These in particular weren't great. much preferred the last week's versions of the Kirkland Signature label. But that's how it goes. We try a lot of wine here on the channel. Some hits, some misses, some really great bargains. Again, $9. It's kind of hard to complain. I think for like a few dollars more, you can find something better. And the same with this blend from Washington State. I just think that there's other options out there at that price point. So until next time, stay foolish and cheers to drinking better wine.